I know of nothing that is a better preparation for a young man who is going into the army than football. The greatest benefit that football gives to a young man is that it teaches him to be a competitor, to never give up, to get back up after you're knocked down. Success in both football and war depends on morale, loyalty, and sound fundamentals. Wallace Wade, Sr., head football coach, Duke University. 1. The Making of a Coach. Trenton, Gibson County, Tennessee, lies in the western part of the state, maybe 45 miles from the Mississippi River, and it has seen its share of history. It was a farming community until cotton mills took over in the late 19th century. In the last decades of that century, and the first few of the 20th, on a 2,500-acre farm in the confines of Trenton, Robert Bruce Wade and Sally Ann Wade raised 9 children, including William Wallace, born in 1892. Robert Bruce and William Wallace were names taken from their descendants, the well-known Scottish freedom fighters of the late 13th century. Robert rose in darkness before dawn and returned to the house well after sunset after overseeing the fields, with little time for his children. He was not especially close with his offspring, yet his actions spoke volumes to his sons, including young Wallace. Keep your mouth shut, put your head down, and work hard. Wallace and his siblings rarely stood up to their father, even when their own moral compass told them they should. Maybe they were afraid of the beatings, or maybe they simply understood it wasn't a child's role to challenge authority. Robert impressed upon his sons the importance of education. Sons Mark and Isham would become successful businessmen who would one day own one of the country's largest apple orchards. Bruce would earn degrees at Vanderbilt and Johns Hopkins and would become a leading geologist. Wallace was quite close with Mark, who was 3 years his senior and followed him in school and in football, first suiting up at Peabody High School in 1909, just 5 years after the game of football reached Trenton, to play for Coach Tuck Fawcett. Wallace was a scrappy player, a fighter who routinely pushed aside players who were bigger than he was. The 150-pounder never seemed to tire. He was the underdog who got more out of his talent simply through determination. After 1 season at Peabody, Wallace matriculated to Fitzgerald Clark School to learn the game under W.A. Bridges, who coached a more modern version of the game, though still nothing like what would come, and under whom Wallace played tackle and guard, just like Mark. In 2 seasons at Fitzgerald Clark, Wallace lost just 2 football games. In 1912, Mark graduated from Morgan Park Academy in Chicago, and sure enough, young Wallace arrived that same year to play for the great Amos Alonzo Stagg, who would go on to fame at the University of Chicago. But Stagg replaced himself with John Anderson as head coach the season Wallace arrived, showing up only at the occasional practice, and only to mentor Anderson through the transition. Feeling a bit let down by the experience, Wallace insisted in earnest that he sold a pig in Tennessee to pay for his travel to Chicago to play for Stagg. He played 1 season at Morgan Park, also playing baseball, before graduating and again following Mark, this time to Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. He played on the freshman team in 1913 and earned a spot on the varsity team his sophomore year under coach Edward Robinson. Though out of his geographical element, Wallace Wade embraced Brown, the Northeast, and the rigors of college work. He immersed himself, by choice, in classes on Latin, Greek, Spanish, and French, and challenged himself with difficult mathematics courses. He was also working his way through school, running errands for wealthy families, assisting in a laundry service, and landscaping and shoveling snow when needed. In 1915, Wade and his offensive line mates welcomed a new teammate, running back Fritz Pollard, one of 2 black students at the entire university, and a phenomenal athlete who earned the job of starting back. When Robert Wade learned that his son would be playing alongside a Negro, he traveled to Providence and demanded that his son withdraw from Brown. But the young Wade was no longer simply the obedient young child fearful of standing up to his father. He was a man in every sense of the word, who had moved away from home years ago. And when his father threatened to pull him out of Brown, the son stood his ground, chastised his father for his antiquated views, and remained at Brown as a teammate and friend of Pollard's. Behind Pollard's record-setting on-field achievements his first year in a Bears uniform, Brown went 5-3.